Good evening and welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting on Monday, October 30th, 2023. We'll start the meeting at 6:01 and can I get a roll call, Beth?
Select Chair, Mr. Coy.
Here?
Select Vice Chair, Mr. DeRoche.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. Britton.
Excuse?
Selectman, Mr. Gifford.
Here.
Selectwoman, Ms. Bergeron. Here. And note for the record, we have Town Manager, Mr. Colby, present. We also have a few people from our Energy Committee. We have Ms. Voss and Mr. Moore.
All right, can we stand for the pledge, please?
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, doesn't look like we have anyone here for public comment. So first up, we'll have the community power plan. Ooh, look at that. You haven't even started and Tim's abandoning you. And looking forward to hearing this, so.
Good evening. Thank you for putting us on your agenda this evening. We're here tonight. We've provided the board with a copy of the draft community power plan that will need to go to the PUC for review to get this ball moving further down the line so that we can offer low-cost, aggregate energy electrical services to the residents and businesses of the town. This is Ryan Paulson from Standard Power. They're the contractor that has been working with us on this, developing this plan, and he has a short presentation for you this evening, and then we'll ask for a vote on approval of the draft so that we can forward it on to the PUC.
All right, perfect. The floor is yours.
Thank you again for having me. I've been, and some of my teammates have been working with the committee, the Energy Committee, over the last couple months to develop this program, this plan to offer variety and options to the residents and small businesses of the community. And we'll get into that briefly. But Community Power was a program that came into law back in 2019. Governor signed it into law then. Went a little back and forth. The utilities kind of entered or submitted a kill bill to kill the program, went back into the legislature, and then out again, was signed into law by the governor in 2021, August. And the PUC has 60 days to approve that plan, those rules, when the governor signs that bill. And it took until October of 2022 for those rules to be finalized by the PUC. So it's been a very long process, but we've been working right along with multiple communities, including Plastow, to develop these programs so that when the program eventually was active and the rules were set, we could move forward. So a little bit of briefly, maybe some of you know what community power is, but the goal is to offer low-cost options or renewable options to your residents and small businesses. Many probably don't know that they can actively go out and buy an electric supply contract from another vendor other than your current utility, Unitil. So this program is a great way to, A, show the residents, hey, the town has developed this program that's here to benefit you, and to provide you those options that they might not know are there, or might not know how to go about getting a newer or lower cost contract. So over the last couple months, we've been working on surveying the community, getting their input on what they would like to see in this program and this plan that you all have. And I think while we would have loved to have had thousands of responses, I think we got a good sense of what the community might be interested in seeing. So the delivery side of your bill still remains with the utility. They still are required to maintain the line. So if your power goes out, that is still on them, and by law they have to fix that, so no issues there. The only thing that changes on your bill is instead of it saying Unitil as your supplier, it'll say Plastow Community Power. A couple quick benefits of this program. The utilities are required to buy power 2 times a year. Unitil specifically, same with Eversource. They have 2 times a year, 3-day windows where they're supposed to buy power, and it's typically the worst 2 times a year to buy power, in the end of December and the end of June. So whatever the energy market is those days, that's what the residents, the ratepayers, are stuck paying for 6-month periods. So we are not held to those same requirements. We can kind of time the market to make sure we're buying power at the right time. So when we're ready to start pricing this community's program, if April doesn't look good, maybe we wait till May, maybe we wait till August, because that makes the most sense to buy. So we really have that flexibility to time the market, make sure we're getting the lowest cost rates we can. Buying power as well. I mentioned an individual resident can go out right now and do this on their own if they want, but oftentimes suppliers will provide those contracts to an individual resident, but they're really looking for bigger amounts of power. So by aggregating the residents and community as a whole together, you're really growing that buying power from a couple thousand kilowatt hours a year to 25 million kilowatt hours. And then you combine that with maybe another community that's also on the same path as you, and you're really increasing that buying power. And then contract length. The utility, as I mentioned, buys in 6-month periods, and you are not held to that term. When we go out and price the market, we're getting a variety of options of term that we would then present to the committee and to the town for their selection. We'd make our recommendation. Our first group aggregation that signed contracts back in March happened to sign a 30-month contract because that made the most sense price-wise. So it can range from 12 months to maybe 48 months if you're willing to go that long. We probably wouldn't recommend it unless there were extreme circumstances, but we would provide that variety in term before the final decision is made. Also pretty important, or could be important to the community through community powers, building local energy projects like solar projects. I know the Energy Committee has been looking at some projects around town, but being able to build a project, you could then incorporate the power specifically from that project into your community power program, and then a byproduct, which is called the renewable energy credit, which gives it its green attribute. So a lot of side benefits for developing this program can lead to some other things like local projects. And people in town might care, or some will care, some won't. That happens. We see it all the time. But you could have a project in town and someone drives by and could point and say that project's directly benefiting our program. So again, to some it could matter, and some it won't. But we realize that. A couple other benefits. Probably the biggest one, we kind of talked about local control because it's the community, the town that's developing this program. Consumer protections is kind of the bigger one, where I'm sure you've all received something in the mail saying, hey, sign up at this great rate, and it's 4 months, 5 months, whatever, and then maybe you forget, and then they increase the rate on you at the end of that contract. So there are predatory companies out there that can do that or will do that. Fortunately, we're only utilizing heavily vetted national level suppliers for community power that don't have that kind of track record. should the program continue past the first contract, the renewal process will happen months in advance, so no one's stuck at the end of the contract not knowing what's going on. If a new contract is in place, it would begin immediately as the old one ends. So the protection of the residents is kind of, or not is, or not kind of, it is very important to this program. We talked a little bit about local programs, building projects around town. You can also, and I don't know if this has been discussed, you can add, if you wanted to start your own fund through the Community Power Program for energy-specific projects, you could add on a cost to the program, but again, you're not required to do that. It's just an option, and I imagine that would also need to be passed at either town meeting or a select board meeting. So there are, and then continued education throughout this process. We've tried to reach the community as best we can, but once the program actually launches, our job is to help work with the town to make sure the residents are still educated, still aware of what's going on, maybe providing updates every so many months on this is where we're at, this is the savings the program has had through X amount of months. So it's important. We're here to provide that support even after this development process. We want to be available to the community post launch of the program. So again, this is just a quick view of the bills that you receive. And again, the supplier that's the only line item that would change, where it would read Plastow Community Power, and then the rate that you end up choosing. So we'll get to this in a minute, but we talk about having the Community Power Program set a default rate in the program. I believe the committee has selected 4 rate options for the residents and small businesses to choose from, ranging from lowest rate offer, which we know you'll have so many people in town that just want to pay the lowest rate, and that's okay. Next up is what I believe the committee has decided on as the default rate of the program, which adds an additional 10% renewable power to that rate. I should preface this by saying all utilities in New Hampshire have to buy 23.4% green in their rate. It's the RPS standard, the state mandate. So we would be adding 10% to that 23.4%. The goal is to only launch the program when at least those lowest rate and default rate of your programs are below the Unitil default rate, because launching it with that not being the case wouldn't make sense. If we can get all 4 rate options to be under the utility rate when we launch, that's great. We kind of always assumed that 50% and 100% additional greenness in the rate would obviously cost more, and residents may have to pay more for that, but some might do that. And when we launched our first 4 programs earlier this year, they were specifically in Eversource, and the default rate was over 22 cents. So all of their rate options were under the utility default for a short while, and 3 of them still are currently. So again, the goal would be to only launch when the rates are under the utility rate, default rate, and only when it makes sense. This is an example of a program in Somerville, Mass. This is over 3 contracts. That top line, the top blue line, is the utility rate, which is Eversource in Massachusetts. And the dotted green line is the default rate of their program, which adds an additional renewable to it. Initially started at 5%+, and it's grown over the last several contracts. And then you have the basic rate, which is their cheapest rate option. And it's done very well. Unfortunately, kind of unforeseen during COVID. No one kind of saw that coming. So you did have a dip in the utility rate at that time. But they had very little migration of residents leaving the program over those 6 months when the rate dropped. So this has been a very competitive program versus their utility, and has done very well. And we expect similar savings in New Hampshire with our programs. So again, some of the program goals, just to recap, rate relief, that's obviously a big one, and stable rates. Again, the utilities change their rates every 6 months. I would think a lot of people want to know that their rate's going to be stable over a certain period of time and not changing. So these are obviously two things that the program will provide. And then long-term savings. We can't guarantee savings, but we expect savings throughout this program. And the good thing is the individuals and the businesses are not held hostage in this program. They are able to come and go as they please, opt in or opt out of the program with no penalty. If they are in the program at the lowest rate option, and maybe they want to go up to the extra 10% green, they can opt up within the program or opt down in the program. The program is made to simply benefit the community. If the default rate does fall and residents are paying attention, they can arbitrage the system and opt out of the program, opt back in. So it's very, very beneficial and flexible for everyone involved. We did run a survey in town, as we try to do in all the communities that we are working with. We had 133 people respond, and this went out on social media, and I believe, yep. So the surveys ask a certain set of questions, trying to get information that we are interested in knowing for the purposes of developing the plan. And primarily, a lot of people always want cheaper cost electricity, but a large portion have had indicated that they would be all for some form of additional green in their rate. So again, here's kind of a pie chart of some of those questions. And by and large, 65%, which is kind of what we see across all communities that we're working with, is I'd pay little, or I would like a little extra renewable as long as I'm paying about the same or slightly less than the utility. So that's what that default rate within the program is that kind of option. And then, of course, you have some that say they're willing to pay a little extra for being more green, and then your percentage of people who are okay just paying the cheapest rate.
So it's your choice, whatever you want to choose out of those four.
Yep. It's
Not like if
just
the
one
town
choice.
says this is the choice. It's up to each individual person.
Yep. So here again, these are the program options that the committee has decided on, and each individual resident or small business that would be open to the program can choose what they want.
I just need to rephrase that just a little bit. This is the recommendations from the Energy Committee. We haven't decided on anything. This is what we are recommending to the Board of Selectmen be the rate structure.
Thank you. That's all right.
And the automatic, go back to the automatic enrollment. So if someone were to sign up, they'd automatically put into that program, not just a regular resident who doesn't know about the program is automatically put into it, right?
It's not a sign-up program.
It's not a sign
Everybody is
up.
automatically opted in,
Everyone in town will automatically be opted
unless
in.
they're already in a third-party contract somewhere else.
Okay,
And they're opted in at that level.
right.
And should, they can opt out, they'll get a postcard, there's a lot of PR that goes out before the program launches.
Well, that's good.
So if they opt in, everybody will be automatically enrolled at the default.
Mhm.
And then the postcard will instruct them, and there'll be other things that instruct them, that they can move around within those levels.
Right.
Or they can completely opt out, opt in again later, no fees, no charges.
So if they wanted to opt out of this and stay with just Unitil, they could do that.
Yep.
And then if they're in the program and all of a sudden Unitil rates become less, they could opt out of the program, go to Unitil.
Yep.
And then when Unitil goes above, they can opt back into this program where it's cheaper.
Yes.
So there's no contract.
No contracts.
There's
Contract is to the town.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to quickly add on to that, there will be mailings out to every eligible electric account in town. So that means anyone that's not in a supply contract currently is an eligible account. So we will get the data from the utility. When we get to that point, the town would authorize us to request the data from Unitil. They would send us spreadsheets with electric account data and a lot of it, and we'll have the list of all those eligible accounts. So those are the only ones who are in that initial purchase of power. When mailings go out, the resident or business will have the option to choose what they want at that point. If they do nothing, if they toss it in the trash, that means that they get automatically enrolled into that default. But you can, upon receiving the mailings, choose what rate you want. And you'll have a dedicated website as well where people can go and opt in or opt out or move up and down within the program.
And what if someone doesn't have access to a computer, which, that's a generational thing, right?
Yeah.
Would there be a point of contact that could help someone through that process?
Yeah, that'll come through to us. We don't want the town getting bombarded with phone calls. So we'll want any calls or feedback directed to us or the supplier who wins the bid for the electricity.
But who would help that person if they couldn't go to the website to opt in? So they would just call your company and they'd say, look, I want to opt out, or this is the choice, and you could make that change for them.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions, actually. So what is, like you have the automatic enrollment. So the Plastow Basic are they getting less? I mean, I get like the rate might be less, but what is the difference between the two besides the rate? Are they getting, I don't know, less, some type of, different type of service or?
No, that's just the basic rate is just providing the lowest rate that we can, which is that RPS standard 23.4% green. That's the lowest rate. And some communities have lofty goals of being renewable by, like Keene by 2030 want to be 100% renewable. So they absolutely wanted a default rate of their program to have extra renewable. And we've kind of seen this across all the communities so far, is that they're interested in having a little bit extra, but making sure they're at least paying what they're paying currently,
Right.
preferably less. So that default rate within the program is that extra greenness in your rate. So it'll cost a little bit more than the lowest rate option, but you're being a little more green, and the goal is to still be under the utility rate.
Okay. And then my other question is, like ballpark, do you know what the utility rate is for Unitil right about now?
Yeah.
And what, in comparison to what your rate would be, like even at the basic, the lowest?
So I believe Unitil is 13.5 cents right now. If we were to price today, we'd probably be looking at rates between 10 and 11.5.
On the
That's
basic?
yeah. Again, we just signed 3 more communities a couple weeks ago, and they were in the 10-cent range for their lowest rate option. So again, you're not going to be pricing today.
Mhm.
It might end up being in the spring.
Right.
But fortunately, the springtime and the fall are typically the best 2 times of year to buy power. But again, we'll watch the markets and make sure that we're hitting what we believe are the right pockets where the price dips and we can get good rates. So
Okay.
again, we wouldn't launch unless those first 2 options for sure are under the utility of Unitil.
So if I decided to go with the basic right now at my house, I would be still getting everything that I'm doing at just at a lower rate.
yes.
Okay.
It's nothing to do with the potency, so to speak, of the
Yeah.
power. It's just how much of the percentage is generated by green power
Okay.
that you're receiving.
Okay.
Yeah, the way I'm almost looking at it right now is if you're a resident in town or a business owner, you kind of have your option, whatever the lowest rate is,
Right.
if you want to pay attention to it, right?
Yeah.
If you choose whichever one of those 4 plans, and it's lower than Unitil, you're saving money there already.
Mhm.
And then if Unitil dips below, you opt out of this and you go back to Unitil until this becomes lower again.
Well, I remember when I had a business and I went to the third party and it helped me a great deal because Eversource was astronomical and it was like it cut my bill almost down, like I saved almost $100 a month
Yeah.
just going to a third party.
But what I like about this, you have flexibility.
Yeah.
You're not locked in.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing. If as long as you pay attention, you can stay as low as you want to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's meant to be a tool and a benefit for the community, and it's extremely low risk. And if a bunch of people decide to opt out, the supplier who wins the bid for the contract for electricity, they factor in migration risk. So the coming and going of people from the program, they already factor that in. So because you'll have some, but I think overall you probably won't have too much migration risk. And but yeah, it's meant to be flexible and no penalty to those who want to come or go.
Just a couple questions. I know the town, we, as a municipality, we've entered into an aggregation agreement. We get, would we, as the town, be able to participate in this program to help save money here? We would just have to,
At the end of the contract.
at the end of that contract, so we'd have to finish out that
That contract
before.
has locked us in where this one would not.
Right. And would the schools be able to participate in this program as well?
Yes. The school district's a little tricky because, especially here, because it's multiple towns, and I don't know if typically they want all of their schools together in one contract. So I don't, it would depend on talking to the school district and saying, hey, can we get the schools in Plastow to be a part of this, even though, and then the other schools can be in their own contract or something. That's a question for them.
So that's probably a school board decision.
But it like,
But we would reach out to them to see if they would participate.
yeah, and I will say towns and schools often have better energy profiles than this kind of program, because this program is a bunch of residential meters who have giant blips in the morning and in the afternoon when they get home and wake up. And that's not a very good energy, that's not a very good load curve. Whereas a town or school accounts is kind of more flat over the course of the day. Suppliers like that a lot better and will often provide better pricing for those energy profiles. So it's possible the town or the school district could do better outside of the program.
But we can participate.
But you can
As long as
participate.
we're not in a
Yeah.
third-party supplier
Yeah.
contract.
Keen's like, yeah, we don't care what the rate is. They're participating. We're participating when our contracts are up. So again, yeah, it's the town's decision on those things. But yeah, absolutely.
And can you just talk a little bit about, so if I wanted to do the 100% renewable, does that mean all the electricity that's coming to my house was generated by 100% renewable energy?
Yes, to a degree. So there's the EPA about 20 years ago decoupled electricity, into two markets essentially. You have the supply cost, the supply of the electricity, and then you have the REC, the renewable energy certificate, which is a new commodity for trading purposes that determines the green value of the electricity. So they saw it as a way to create a new market to help renewable energy projects grow across the country, because it provides another revenue source for someone who builds a solar project. You get this REC as a benefit, and you can sell it and make more money. So the REC is retired in the name of the Community Power Program, and is bought and generated from renewable energy projects within the New England ISO, New England grid. Again, if you were to build local projects and want to incorporate benefits from that, you can get those even more localized RECs from the project in town and sleeve it into the program. So you'll have a more local benefit. But
Well, in the end, there's a windmill project in the state somewhere that's generating energy. So that by purchasing the 50% or the 100%, you could be benefiting from those like wind projects or solar farms.
in theory, yeah. I don't know what the mix of the RECs will be. But yeah, it could come from solar, could come from wind, hydro,
Whatever it is.
Yeah, a variety. It's probably a variety of RECs that go into that. But yeah, that's the kind of the purpose of that, is to help the REC market grow. So yes.
Thank you.
So this was the quick timeline. We're at the approval part of the process. The town has actually voted and approved community power back in 2021, I believe, at town meeting. So the easiest part is done, not having to go through another town vote. But we're at the point now where the energy committee has approved the draft plan. Now we're here at the select board for approval, and then the final approval is sending it over to the Public Utilities Commission. We have had 12 plans go there already and have been fully approved, so we're not concerned about getting approval for Plastow.
What's the timeline running for approval?
60 days once we submit to the PUC. And then at that point, we could immediately ask for data from the utility, but 60 days from, let's say 60 days from today, is probably not going to be a good time to buy power anyways. So we've been kind of thinking the spring is the logical time to start looking at pricing. So, but yeah, 60 days is that last part of the process. before the pricing process.
So it's probably safe to say something like this, wouldn't start until the spring. We wouldn't start it in the winter.
We're looking at an April target,
Okay,
depending on the market pricing.
all right.
Yeah, so let's say we start pricing in April. There's a certain amount of time that we have to get all the mailers out. So if the town signs something in April, let's say, the program probably wouldn't start until June probably. So, but if we look maybe in March, then that could move that timeline up a little. But that's kind of what we had. We had people or towns sign contracts in March, and their program started in June. So that was the amount of time that we needed for everything to comply with the utilities, because the utilities need a certain amount of days notice before a program can launch. And then, of course, we had to get all the mailing out, and that's probably, again, another 60 days maybe.
And if at that time Unitil's less, then probably we wouldn't be rolling
Then,
it
yeah,
out.
then you wait and wait till it makes sense. And so that's the goal.
Best part of this program, in my mind, is that there's zero risk to the residents and businesses who sign in. They have the opt-in, the opt-out, they can opt in between the different levels. So there's no contract that locks them in to a certain price till the end of the contract.
No, I like the flexibility. To me, that's the biggest part of it. If this program here, if the rate is less than Unitil, then that's the way you go. If Unitil becomes less, you opt out of this and now you're back with Unitil. To me, that's the best part of it.
The only thing is, like, with Unitil or another third party, a lot of them have contracts.
You wouldn't have a contract with Unitil. If you
Okay.
switch back to Unitil, you would not be in a contract. If you went to a different third-party
Party.
provider, then you would have to be concerned about the length of the contract.
Contract,
Yeah.
okay,
And or early termination fees if you tried to get out of
okay,
something else. Community power is special, where like the town's contract, there are early termination fees, I believe, if they were to try to get out of it. Whereas community power, there is not. So
okay.
so yeah, if a resident left and happened to find another contract that was lower, and then wanted to leave that one, they probably couldn't. They'd have to make sure they read their contract,
Okay.
contract.
And if there's power outages, Unitil takes care of that.
Yep.
The infrastructure's still there.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we covered this. The key change in the law back in 2019, so the program existed, but it was an opt-in program. And that's kind of why we didn't have any of these programs here, because it would be very difficult to get so many people to opt into this program. So they changed the language to opt out, which is the case in multiple other states. And we've had people say, I don't like that, and I understand, I get it, but you're going from maybe 20% participation from an opt-in program to probably 90% participation in this version of it. And again, they're not held to staying in the program. But yeah, that was kind of the key change to the law back then.
And there's no percentage of how many residents in town have to opt in? That's what,
No, I think the initial launch of the program will have significant amount of load. It's not short of everyone in town opting out when they get their postcard, which seems highly unlikely. Yeah, the program will continue. Again, the supplier bakes in or considers the risk of migration loss from residents coming and going. So, so yeah, I don't think it's.
say if you dip below 75% of the town, or 50 or 25, or still participate?
It'll still be active, yeah.
Can, If people didn't want to get automatically opted in, can they reach out ahead of time to say, please keep me off of the list of not adding me into the program?
So when those mailings go out, you'll have an option on the card to opt out of the program. So you'll have the ability to do that, but if
You're
you,
in the program at that point.
The cards will go out before the program launches.
yeah,
Thank you.
yep,
All right, I
So you just
misunderstood.
respond before it launches and then you're out.
yep.
And if someone doesn't have access to it, they would just call. I'm sure
That'll be
this,
on the postcard, but they
Yeah.
can do it if they don't have.
and they could
access.
call the phone number or they could do it online.
Yeah.
It's not everybody's tech savvy.
So there's no cost to the town for this?
Nope.
And there's no benefit to the town government.
You don't get a kickback.
We don't get a kickback. Okay,
The benefit is you have happy consumers in your residence.
yes.
Mhm.
Can I ask a
Trying to
question?
lower their bills.
Is Standard Power a nonprofit?
No.
How then, by offering the lowest cost, how do you make money in the long run?
So we only get paid when your program actually launches, and our fee is 1/10 of a cent. So if the rate was 10 cents, we get 1/10 of a cent. So the rate is actually 9.9, and we get that 1/10 of a cent. So that's the only time that we get paid in this process.
Thank you.
They've done a lot of work for us with no guarantee that we're going to opt into the program.
You have any questions, Jim?
No, I sat on the committee, so.
I know that, but I didn't, no, I know you sat on it, but it just if you had any.
No, I just think with the mailer going out, and people, having the option to opt out, the mailer's not going to have the dollar amount or the value savings, is it?
The mailer will have your rate options on it.
Okay.
Yep.
Will it also include Unitil's rate at that point too?
I'm sure. Yeah, we'll include
Because that way everyone would have it one piece of paper, okay, I
Here's my
purchase,
comparison.
right, I can do this rate or this rate.
Yep.
Well, this one's 2-3 cents cheaper, I'm going with the cheaper option.
Are we going to open this up to the public to have like like questions and answers?
We have 2 public hearings for this
Okay,
that were
All right.
advertised. They were held at the library, very, very little attendance.
But it was part of the statutory requirements for developing the program is to have 2 public hearings.
okay.
And I believe there's one more, although without having the town meeting, there usually is one more hearing after the PUC review, but I have to double check on it because this is an instance where you don't require a town meeting anymore because it's already been passed at town meeting. So that I have to double check. But yeah, for the most part, all those checkpoints have been met so far.
Is there any reason we couldn't offer an additional public hearing to give people the information?
No.
Can I
No.
answer that?
Don't see why
Yes.
not.
And I'm sure, and someone from Standard Power will attend if asked. So
Okay.
A quick question though?
I do. Nolan Pelletier, 24 North Ave. I do have a quick question. If you want to have, I was unaware of these public meetings. I try to stay, it's not easy. There's a lot going on in the town. I try to stay on top of things. I was completely unaware of this. I've been watching tonight, but me watching tonight, I saw there was 3 people watching this evening. And there's a lot of people in this community that don't know what's going on. So I think if you want to have if you're going to send out a mailer to if it's an opt-in model, which I think is not a great idea. I think if an opt-out model, it should be an opt-in model. The town should not decide what everyone in the town is going to do. If it's a great deal, people are going to opt in. If you want to have another meeting, I would suggest, if you're going to send out mailers to everybody, send out mailers to everybody about this meeting. Thank you.
It couldn't hurt to have another,
Yeah, I don't,
Meeting.
I
or
agree.
another public hearing, or just an information night at the library as we get closer to that, The more information, the more people can make a informed decision.
You know, we can maybe even do something, you know, like we did with the fire chief, right?
TV show.
TV show.
That's a good idea.
That way there, everybody has it, right? If we do just a show downstairs, it's out on cable for everyone to see, and then that link would be put out there for everyone. So a little bit more, it's not gonna hurt.
Nothing wrong with more information.
It doesn't hurt. I'd rather everybody be more informed. So that's an idea.
And this, obviously, this was, like you said, it went to warrant article. So the people of the town did voted in.
Of the community power.
Okay,
They authorized the board of selectmen to move forward.
okay. All right.
So if the board doesn't have any additional questions, we were hoping for a motion to approve the draft, so it can be forwarded to the PUC.
I'll make a motion to accept the plan for Plastow Community Power the Energy Committee has recommended.
Second.
Is this the final draft?
Yes,
Is this available on our town webpage?
I can put it up on the webpage if we want to put it up until the board of selectmen had authorized.
Okay. Yeah, that would be good to have. Yeah, it'd be good to have that out there.
I'll put it up first thing in the morning.
Anyone, anything else?
I don't, he's got his hand up.
Nolan Pelletier, 24 North Ave. Would it be possible to change it to an opt-in model, or is that off the table? It just,
The state law provides for. State law provides for the opt-out.
for the opt-out, but that's changed. It seems like their business model is
From an
opt-in to an opt-out,
Yes.
because it seems like this business model relies on a large portion of people that may or may not be following their prices on their electricity, which some people, I hate to say it, might not even be aware of changes. They're going to get a bill and they're going to pay.
You're probably exactly right on that.
I know I'm exactly right on this, but I mean, we're talking perhaps, that's why I think an opt-in model, because I'm not, everything sounds great. I've been listening. You know, obviously I want to pay less for electricity. And if that's the case, I'm going to opt in, but I think putting the whole town in is, you're deciding for the whole town.
Right, but what?
And that's kind of, it seems like a mistake coming from me, because this is my opinion, obviously. I think that an opt-in model is much better. And you're making a blanket decision for everybody. Where some people may be informed, and there's going to be a lot of people who are not informed.
But the town voted to approve that we move forward with
You move
community
forward with the
power.
project.
Well, the legislation made it an opt-out model, not the town.
Not the town. Lobbies did that.
Yeah.
I mean, I work in electricity, and let me tell you, I know we were comparing Somerville. I was watching before, and I will say that Massachusetts and New Hampshire are two different animals. I work in renewable energy. They are two completely different
On some
things.
Yes.
On 100%. I will tell you, I do way more solar in Massachusetts because it's heavily subsidized by the state. So you're saving money somewhere, but you're paying it somewhere else. It's not this clear cut thing where you're like, oh, we're saving money. Massachusetts is paying money in solar subsidies, and then you're getting a little back on the back end. So you're comparing two different markets, and I don't think you're going to have the same result.
But the good thing from what I'm hearing too, we're not even going to roll this out if these prices are higher than Unitil.
Right.
So when this rolls out, it's not going to roll out if these prices are higher.
Initially, correct?
Correct. And then
Initially.
then it would be then you'd opt out of it.
Then you could opt out of it.
Right.
I guarantee there's a bunch of people that won't even know this happened. And if these rates go up, it may come back to bite you. When those rates go up and Unitil, if Unitil drops and these people found out that they were actually enrolled in this by the town, and how many mailers do you get in the mail and you just toss in the trash?
Not to go back and forth. You could play like,
All right.
the advocate.
Thank
But
you.
you know,
But thank
but you
you.
know what I'm saying? You're gonna opt in the beginning, so then you'd still have to opt out at some point because it's cheaper. So then you'd still have to go back. and
Right,
forth,
but you opt in, so you are now aware that you are in this program and you are going to watch this
And
program.
that would be on us, right, as the town to say when the rates change. To put it out there on the website.
Well, I mean, I know the your site isn't even up to date. So like
Yeah.
the town site is out of date. So saying that you're gonna relay that information to the general public, I hope that's true. I don't know if it really is true. It could be of the best intention. It doesn't mean it's gonna happen. And that's a concern.
Consultant on our team whose best interest is to keep us up to date and in line, because that's the only way they're gonna be making money as well. So it's a little more.
When they sign this contract and their rates go up and everyone's opted in, some people will be paying attention and they'll leave, but there will be other people. This whole business model relies on the whole town opting in. If it's such a good deal, people will do this voluntarily, and I think that's the way it should be done. And I guess if you're saying this is an issue with the state, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem. And this was probably changed by a lobby for this exact reason, if I'm being honest.
It could be, but I can't change the state.
There is dangers. There's inherently dangers with this model. That's
So
what I'm saying.
I have something to say.
Yeah.
So this automatic enrollment, there's no way we can take that off the table.
No.
Not at all?
Yeah. So it'd have to change up in Concord. So we're just operating within the confines of the rules of this program.
Okay.
Well, I think, maybe we put together a plan as we work through this to say, we'll keep an eye on rates and update our webpage
Yeah.
and, make sure we're putting information out there that's current so that people are aware of the changes. We do have an email blast through our town website, so as long as we're updating that, you should be getting emails as long as you subscribe to it.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. The town will be building out a Plastow specific page, either hosted on our website or its own standalone, where all relevant information about the program and the plan will be. So keeping track of the utility rates can certainly be added to that. So
Yeah, that
people will
would should be
know, or
perfect, right?
people can know what the upcoming rates will be.
Yep.
And keep in mind, 6 months ago, we were at 22 cents with the town.
Well-
Because that's what their buy-in was at that time. So I'm not saying that we would be getting 10 cents now and 22 cents from them, but there would be a difference there.
I think too, we need to start, and I keep saying it, I think we need to keep, like, I know we put stuff out on the Town of Plastow Facebook page, but I think we need to stop putting our agenda out there so people know what we're talking about, even like a week's prior. I think we need to start listing that more so people can,
Out in an email to whoever signs up. for
I
the
get
email.
that, but some people don't do emails. I know.
Here is
Yeah.
that they didn't opt into the emails.
I see, I'll be honest with you, that's one of the things I struggle with in this town, because we forget that we have a lot of seniors in this town that don't know how to operate a computer. They don't have email. They don't have, some of them are on fixed incomes. They don't have cable television.
They're still gonna be the same people that you're not gonna reach on Facebook.
Oh, I get it, but we still have to put it out there, whether it's out on the sign, out on the green, or somewhere, like post it at the library, a lot of them go in there. The Vic Gary Center, we've just got to start getting things out more, because this is becoming, I feel like I've been listening to this for way too long about us not informing everybody. And we have to think of just not like somebody my age. We have to think of our seniors, like I just said. And
This program does have a lot of education part of it, and that's part of State Power's responsibilities to help assist us
Yeah.
with that process for the residents.
Okay. But we could get this going over at Pine Park and Chandler Place. Have all this stuff available to them so they know ahead of time.
It's a discussion we'll have for another day.
Yeah.
I did an awful lot of ground beating for those 2 public hearings. I
Yeah.
posted a lot on Facebook. I did a bunch of email blasts through the website, and still the attendance was not that great.
And it was in the newspapers because we have to put it in the newspapers as well.
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
going door to door, it's tough sometimes.
yeah.
We got anything else?
We have a motion.
We got a motion, we got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed, that's, what's it, 4 of us tonight, 4-0-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all your hard work on this.
Yeah.
This is going to be a
The energy committee.
great benefit to our
The
residents.
community power committees. Part.
I don't know why I got two of these.
All right. Next up, we update to the permitting policy and procedures. What do we got on this, Greg?
I know as part of recent events and public meetings that part of the agreement was to update and memorialize the permitting policy and procedures where there was and are, some of them are memorialized, if you will. There are some other things that weren't necessarily formally part of this. So our building inspection department and building inspector have been working with the town attorney to get everything into these policies and procedures. So as part of that, that's what we're, looking at for approval tonight. And I know, one of the for instance is, with the issuance of a building permit, when the foundation needs to be done, the process was to issue a foundation permit first. If it was in an area that might have been, close to setbacks and the like, that the building permit would not be issued until after it was verified that the foundation was in a proper spot. So, as a for instance, I don't know that there are significant changes to what is being done, but that's what these are.
I would have liked to have had a copy of what they were prior to this and what the changes were made on this. I'm just, so I have something to compare to.
I understand. They were working on them until 4 o'clock this afternoon. That's why, the late ad here.
Questions or?
Do we need to approve this tonight? Because I'd like to see what it was originally too, to see what the changes were.
Yeah,
No,
if we
fair
could-
enough.
If we could just get those sent out to us, and we'll put
We
this
will
right
do
on
that.
the agenda for the next meeting. Sure,
Absolutely.
once we have that, we'll look at the both, right? It's hopefully just cut and dry, I would think.
Yeah.
Does that sound reasonable to everyone?
Yeah.
Good with that?
I'm good with that.
All right. So next up, the Dish Wireless contract discussion.
We have been in negotiations to lease more space to another wireless company on the water tower. I have put on a sheet in front of you the summary of the lease agreement terms. It is very similar to the other three that we already have, but this one, basically, it's a 5-year lease with 4 renewable 5-year options. The base rent in year 1 would be $3,500 per month. There is a 3% increase on the anniversary date each year. As part of this agreement, there is a $30,000 payment due within 30 days of signing to offset the expenses in finalizing this agreement. It has been passed by and approved by Primex, our insurance carrier, and the town attorney has been very instrumental in this as well. So I do have a copy of the legalese here in front if anybody wants to review it, but it is along the same lines as the other 3 agreements that we have currently to lease the space on the water tower.
And this is revenue.
And this is all revenue, yes.
Is there like a positive impact to our residents that might use Dish? Like, is there a benefit from having a closer wireless antenna?
You'd almost think so, just like cell phone service, right?
Right.
You would hope.
I would,
It's a new program that Dish is, they're doing as a wireless cell phone carrier, not necessarily the Dish satellite
Satellite
TV.
service.
So they're going into the,
They're going
telephone
into
business.
telephone business. Yes.
so then that makes all the sense in the world where they'd want to put one where everyone else is.
I'll make a motion to adopt the Dish Wireless contract as presented and to authorize Town Manager Greg Colby to sign all documents pertaining to the agreement on behalf of the town.
second?
By Jay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So 400. All right, it looks like we got a proposed budget for us to look at for the Historical Society budget. And I know this is new for them, right? For the budget, because we changed some things I know in the past. They used to take the money from the vendors, but instead now that stays with Old Home Day. So looking for a little bit more. So what they're looking for, it looks like, well, are they looking for the $8,036 or is some of that offset by anything they bring in?
So they are looking for that $8,036.
Do we know what it was the past couple of years,
They have.
what their budget was?
Haven't had a
They
budget.
didn't have, what it was before is they used to take the vendor money from
From the
Old Home Day.
yeah.
And that would take care of this, but now that vendor money.
That was only like $2,500.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It wasn't even
I know it's
close.
25, but I don't know if they did it through fundraising or what they did before.
They did a lot of fundraising to make the ends meet. And
I know
looking at their budget, I know they're on a shoestring as they were.
and I know they're a lot more active than they had been in the past.
They have, yes, they have a new chair, and she's actively going out and soliciting more. They also have a new website that have all of the artifacts from the town that are listed, and people can get in and access it and see what's going on with just about every part of the Historical Society.
Yeah, and they've started doing some lectures at the library too. I know they've brought some.
Right, they've done some barn lecturing and some other. So they're looking to move it up and run this budget and see how this works for the first year, and then see where we can go from there.
Okay.
Because when it comes to building, the town owns the building,
Right.
and the town supports the building already, so they don't have any budgetary numbers for that. If you can see, it's all of that was donated by local businesses in a lot of instances.
Where would we put this under in the budget, Greg? Where would it fall? Under who?
Under culture and recreation, probably along with Old Home Day.
Good.
Greg, what's up on the top left that talks about rent, insurance, electricity? Do you know what the breakdown is for the year that we pay for the building and the maintenance and the electricity and all of that? The water, the heating, phone?
when you say the breakdown, or, I mean, in the general government budget, we have electric, museum electric, which for the 2024 is at $3,000 request. We have museum heat for $3,500. We've got museum water at $500.
What,
And
what did we expend in 22?
in 22 or so far in 23?
Last year.
So for 2022 actual for electric, we spent $2,276.19. For heat, we spent $2,390.84. Water has just barely been hooked up, so there wasn't any there. The maintenance was $124.55 and repairs of $452 in 2022.
And as far as the insurance goes, like what is that? That there's no breakdown for that. It just falls under our liability policy.
That is correct.
What about Pulsar and internet?
That is also under our general government budget. It's lumped in, like the internet is within our,
The whole
the whole
municipality.
municipality.
Okay. I just wanted to see what we do now for the building, just to get an idea on what the total cost might be for the budget.
Do you have any other questions on this, thoughts? I mean, obviously, they need something to keep going.
They can't survive the way that it is.
I'll make a motion to approve the Historical Society 2024 budget of $8,036.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So this isn't any different than other organizations that we help fund through human services, right, Greg? We fund 501c3s through our human services organization. So
That
this
is
isn't,
correct.
this isn't a precedence that we're setting. Because the Historical Society is a 501c3, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Anything else? All those in favor of approving the budget? Aye?
Aye.
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 So that's 400. So you'll have to get this over to budget, right?
Budget committee, yep.
Well, this would fall under cultural, right? We haven't approved that one yet.
Right.
Right. Yeah, and Old Home Day's coming in the 13th, I think.
Correct.
Talk about that. So that'd be the next meeting.
Right.
We'll come in for that. So we can go over that, and then that'll be the last one. So next thing is just general budget review. What I wanted to do is just to kind of see if there's anything anybody wanted to go over with this. I think now's a good time. I'd rather stay in front of this than behind it. You know, we're looking for any place in here we think there could be some adjustments or anything. I don't know if any thoughts, if you've gone back and taken a look at everything again? Or does everyone feel comfortable with what we've approved already? Tammy, you good?
I'm looking over it. Hold on a minute.
Jay, anything?
I just,
It's a tough one this year.
it's a tough one this year. It's with the ambulance service, what are we at, 9.4% increase in the budget?
It's over 10% at this point. It was 9.4 originally presented.
And what is it if we remove the ambulance? Because the ambulance, right?
That's the big increase.
That's the big one, and that's kind of unavoidable.
It's 6.5%, I believe. So,
Well, the ambulance is worth 6.5% of the budget?
well, it's 687,000 on a little more than a $10 million budget. So it's,
So it's like 6%, so without that, we're talking it's a little over 4 if we didn't have the ambulance?
yes.
That's a
that
correct
is-
statement?
In round numbers, yes. I was just trying to call up the budget here. Just give me a moment.
So that 600 number, does that reference the return?
No.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. And we guesstimated that at 400.
At 400.
Yep.
Which in my mind,
Assumably.
right, and that should go back into the general fund, and
Right.
I know
Keep the tax rate down.
if I happen to still be on the board, I know what I would want to happen with that money.
With what?
I said, I know if, as long as I would be on the board, I would want that money to go back to the town and
Right,
to help with the taxes. right?
yes,
That revenue will go into setting the tax
tax rate.
next year. So it wouldn't be something we'd add on top of it.
Right.
And looking at the budget overall and outside of that ambulance, like it's only like a 3.5%. Well, now we're up to 4, because there was some increases with police. Right.
Approximately 10.63% is where we're sitting right now with the changes that have been made, not adding in the $8,000, but I mean, that's, minimal.
Right.
A lot of that's collective bargaining too.
Right. Some of
Payroll,
that's some of those contracts.
some of those departments had an increase because of,
Like I've gone through the budget, and all you're really doing is nickel and diming lines,
Mhm.
and the town has always been good about having a lean budget. Like, what did we return last year? $264,000.
$84,000, I think.
284. So out of a 10 or $11 million budget, I believe we returned 280 something $1,000. I'd say that's pretty lean. And given the fact that we have to provide this ambulance service, I don't see anywhere else in the budget to trim anything back or significantly trim anything back that's going to reduce it significantly.
No, and I did the same. I went back and looked, and it's like, there isn't much there. There isn't a lot of fat there.
and these numbers would be on our plate because the ambulance service is going to go up no matter what.
Right,
So
Right, there's no choice.
it wasn't a choice that we went to ambulatory.
And then this
It
is
was
the,
a choice to control the ambulatory.
Right, to have town control of it.
Right.
right, and that was less than the RFPs we sent out for too,
Right.
till we got back.
It was kind of a no-brainer, except that it's going to take a little bit of a hit on the percentage.
Right, and I know the only thing, obviously, we got Old Home Day, we still got to talk about that one. And I did talk to Bob. There is a chance that they may have it settled on the machines,
Yes,
and if they
the
do
voting
that,
machines.
right, so then that would come out of this year's if we got that done in time.
That's correct.
what about this,
That's good news.
Yeah.
emergency management also? What about that one? I see that.
What's your question, Ms. Bergeron?
No, I'm just saying how much that's there and what we've spended year to date. So, I mean, this is for October and we're almost into November. I mean, It just seems kind of high. Have you guys already viewed the emergency management?
Yes.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, the only one that we haven't done is the cultural with Old Home Day.
Okay.
Other than that, we've looked at every one of them.
And to answer your question, if backing out the ambulance amount, it's a 4.58% increase, not counting that, so.
Right. And a lot of that was insurance,
Insurance,
CBAs,
CBAs.
That was really the bulk of it.
and police. There was a decent increase there.
All right, so is everybody, we're okay where we are right now? I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
we'd like that number to be lower.
Okay, I'm okay at the moment. I'm gonna go back through and look again.
Well,
There's
we're
not
still open to look at it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we should all be constantly looking at it.
It's,
You know,
Yeah.
as we get different numbers and we look at different things and see if there's something we can find somewhere. And I'm sure the budget committee's gonna be doing the same thing too.
Okay.
yes.
You know, so they'll be all, and it's good too, that's a different set of eyes than our eyes too.
But they've already approved up through highway. They have about 15 budgets left to go through.
Do they have any feedback on a lot of them?
They had a couple questions around the police, and the chair was going to go back to the police chief and get some clarification
Okay.
on a couple things, but for the most part, the budgets were passed without any changes.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, we should constantly be looking at it and see if there's something that really jumps out at us. All right, so with that, I guess we'll go to, I can't say something we've all wanted to see, but the tax rate.
All right.
Where are we at, Greg?
Tax rate. So again, as I had mentioned before, been working with DRA to get the tax rate set so we can get the 2023 tax bills out. We have, I had mentioned, I think previously where the county had gone up a little bit. We've finally got the assessments for the school district as well. And with the preliminary rate, what we are looking at right now, a 2023 estimate of $22.56 per thousand, which is an increase of $3.55. The town's portion right now would be up 42 cents. The local school rate is up $2.78. The state school rate would be up 29 cents. And then finally, the county rate is up 6 cents. So just to show what's, how it pans out, the green is the town. That is what the board has control over. The rest of this, the local school, the state, and the county is not within our control. We're relying on others in the setting of that rate. From the standpoint of what this increase looks like, just in order to quantify it, this assumes a $400,000 home. Based on that rate, the 2023 portion of the tax bill in the first column, broken out by the town, the school, and then the county, and then versus the 22. So basically, a $400,000 home will see a $1,420 increase in its property tax bill, $168 of that being the town. Over $1,228 would be the school and $24 on the county.
So the school's a combination.
Yes, of the two.
Of the two. Can you just go back that one slide? Just.
I can try. There we go.
So you got the school local and the school state.
Yes,
So that's a little over 1,200 right there.
1228. Yep. Of the $1,420.
So that's, to me, that spells out where everything is coming from, right?
And that's the school, the state school is the amount that we raise on behalf, and it's the retained amount.
Right.
That when it comes to the adequate education, to meet the state's obligation of providing an adequate education, or the funding to,
And really,
Support that.
the only thing we have control of as a town is the 168.
that's correct.
And next year, that's going to be lessened because we'll have the return from that to add to this, right? Is that how
Yes,
the return from the
ambulance.
goes into the general, but we can attribute that towards.
Right. Well, I mean, next year the budget will go up on the expenditure side, the appropriations, but we'll have the revenue to help offset the gross increase
Okay.
of 687 or thereabouts will be a net amount will get raised by property taxes. So for round numbers, if it was a $600,000 budget and 400,000 of revenue, the net amount, 200,000, would be raised through new property taxes. But as a, for instance, the lease agreement that we approved tonight, that'll be another, $40,000 of revenue that's not in this year that should be in next year's as well to help contribute towards the overall tax burden.
We should also see that there's a couple projects in town that they're just getting underway, and we should start seeing tax revenue from that as well. Some commercial projects, right?
I know the big warehouse is due to break ground. I'm not sure how much, the assessment is of the Milton Cat property, but
Right.
I would assume as of April 1st, they'll be significantly done, and that will add to the tax base as well.
And that's, obviously, those two properties, there's no really tax impact really, right? We're not plowing roads there. They don't add to the school
You
system.
don't add to the school system, no.
The question's gonna be, I guess, we're looking at the school system. Does that mean that's gonna level off now and stay hopefully flat for the next few years? I mean, I don't think anyone in this room knows the answer to that question.
Not sure.
What do we have in the general fund?
Well, I'm not understanding your question.
I just want to know, what do we have in the general fund? Because I know in the past, we have taken funds,
For surplus?
yep, to offset the tax
Yeah,
rate.
we did that last year. So you still got a few more slides, right?
Is around $2 million.
Okay,
On the MS 535 that we reported, it was in the neighborhood of 2.5 million. There was $482,000 from surplus that was used, that was voted last March to be used. So it leaves us right in the neighborhood of $2 million.
okay.
From an accounting standpoint, there is about $300,000 of a prepaid item that is removed from the surplus, but I really would count that as part of what's available. So I'm going to roughly $2.3 million.
Okay.
Again, I know there's some confusion too with the issuing of a property tax bill in the process. So I wanted to at least put, this out there. And again, this is with the rate the way it is right now. This assumes a tax bill on that $400,000 home that I used as an example. So in 2022, the bill is 7604. The new bill for the year would be $9,024. So an increase of $1,420. The way that the June bill goes out is an estimate of, in order to determine the amount of the June bill, I should say, what they do is they take 50% of the property tax rate from the previous year. So in other words, 50% of the bill. So that $400,000 home in June, they would have paid $3,802 towards the 2023 property tax bill. Unfortunately, and the way it works, that December bill, if we take the 9,024 less the 3,802, that means the December bill is going to be $5,222. Now, I know a lot of people will, look at the December bill at 5,200 and say, they'll double it and say, well, wait a minute, my bill for the year is 10,400, but that's not really the case. The whole increase of $1,420 is made up, if you will, with that December bill. So if we follow it through until June of next year, the property tax bill, the estimate for the 2024 bill would be $4,512, or 50% of that 9,024. So it's just, there is a difference there, and I just wanted to demonstrate that.
So you just can't double it.
Just can't double the December bill. To give an idea, the Timberlane Regional School District, which of course makes up Plastow, Atkinson, Danville, and Sandown, for 2023, between the local and the state amount, the assessment shows that they're collecting $70,888,000. That is a net change of $14.4 million. So you can see in the far right hand the additional amount, and that is primarily where that $3 is coming from, for the local and the state rate. Sandown is just behind us at 4 million, and Atkinson and Danville are bringing up the rear, so to speak. I do know early reports are that the increases, not that it makes it any easier, but the increases in at least two of these other towns are much more than the $3 that we're needing to come up with. Not that it makes it any easier, but so I know the board, oftentimes will consider the use of additional fund balance to reduce the rate. It is tough to, use surplus to chase a school increase when we have nothing to do about it. But $100,000 of surplus on the rate equates to approximately 7 cents is what it does. So if the board were to say we want to use $100,000 instead of the town rate being $5.60, it would be $5.53 right around there. For 200,000, it would be $5.45. Again, on a $400,000 house, $100,000 equates to about $28 on the tax bill.
Yeah, from talking, I know the number we had talked about was to give back, it was 250. Because you don't want to go too low with the funds in there. And that would knock it down to, what was it, about 1.9 or something like that?
I thought we just had 2.3.
Yeah, but you're not going to give all of the 2.3 back. At least I'm assuming you're not going to. You
No.
could, but it wouldn't be recommended.
So we have a policy to retain a certain amount. What is that number? To be below that?
I think we're right on the cusp. I believe it's 8% after the rate. It's historically, I think we've, gone down around 7%, but usually every year we end up closing the books and we make that back up to end up right around that 8% figure.
I'm sure you guys all feel the same way. I feel, especially this year, everybody's been hit with the price increases. Everything has gone up. I'd hate to see somebody, Christmas time, getting this bill for over $5,000, And I know in the past, we always took money and to offset it. And I mean,
Yeah, unfortunately, you can only offset so much.
I know.
I'd love to be able to say take the whole thing, but
I want to keep the rate at the lowest we can possibly legally go.
Excuse me, Greg, you said 200,000 saves them $28 a month on an average 400?
100,000 would save 7 cents on the rate, so it would be $28 on a $400,000 home. So,
Year.
56.
so it would be $56. So when you're,
Add another 14, talking like 69.
so instead of $5,222, 100,000 would make it 5,190.
It's just a drop in the bucket against that school.
It is, it is.
School is the killer.
You,
I mean, yeah, when you see that right up there, that's the increase. I mean, that's it right there, right?
The older folks don't have kids in the school.
I know.
You know, because otherwise you look at, I mean, the school's over 1,200 of it.
So what's our rate right now? What's the tax rate? What was it last year?
last year was 1901.
So it's a difference of 355. 27, well, over $3 of it is the school.
$3.07 is related to the school.
Well, I'd say at a minimum, we should give back
3?
what the, at a minimum, what was left over from last year. The 284. I know it's more of a, I don't know if it's a symbolic gesture. It's really not, you could round it off to 3, but you're only saving a few extra dollars.
I don't even know if it's a few dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd come,
I'm in favor of going for the 3.
but if you give the 3, where does that put us
Does
with?
that put us under the percentage
Right.
that we need to maintain?
I mean, it all depends on, how you look at that. It's just on DRA's website to see if I could. I believe we'll be below the 8% anyways, even if with using, 100,000. So, but it's not, it's one of those difficult numbers because it doesn't really say when you have to be at the 8%. So I think oftentimes we would look at it at the end of the year after we close the books and records.
So the ebb and way would.
Yes.
So with additional revenue coming in by the end of the year, we may still be at 2.3 if we took 300 now to
Yes.
offset the tax rate.
Yes.
What did we put against it last year?
300,000.
So it'd be the same thing.
Last year's increase was
Unfortunately, we
25 cents.
can't even think about putting a dent in the school.
Right.
You know, and we got to be fiscally responsible too to make sure we don't go too low.
Right.
Right.
But as far as the rate goes, what do we want to do about that? Just keep it?
What, the 2256? Well, if we put money against it, that rate's going to go down.
56.
If
So that's
you-
what I want us to do, is to do 2256, right?
Well,
So why-
2256 is without doing anything, giving any money back.
Right, I'd like to keep it in the middle.
Keep what in the middle?
Well, you said the tax rate was 1901.
Correct.
Can't get to
There's,
So-
there's no way we can get to that.
You'd have to use $2 million of your surplus.
No. I'm talking about, so we're talking right now at doing 22.56 for our rate. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
So we couldn't do like 21 point, you couldn't? Even with taking the 300,000 to help offset it?
It wouldn't,
300,000 will make your town rate $5.38. So that means it would make your overall rate $22.35 by using 300,000. You'd have to use probably $1 million of your surplus to split the difference. Again, the town needs to raise $4.2 million to pay over to the school.
That's unfortunate. That's what got voted in last year over at the school. So,
Well, we're not the school board or the budget committee over there, so.
no, I mean, and there's only so much we can give because we've got to maintain that percentage. And even with the 300, we're going to go a little bit below, Greg. That's what you're saying, right?
But I think we need to help offset it. Like I said,
No, we do have to offset
Yeah,
it. It's what
because-
whatever that dollar amount is, we're going to get, my opinion, I think we have to give something back. We have to.
We do, definitely, yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, and when I was on the board before, we always did that.
Yeah. And I know for a few years they got away. Last year we gave money back. I think
Yeah.
we started up again. I think we all are in agreement with that, right?
Right, but last year it was 25 cents.
I know that. I know that. It's just you're staring at that number now this year and it's like, oh my God.
Fortunately, with everything that's going on and
Yeah.
the cost of doing business and contracts and everything else, we've moved up.
Just playing devil's advocate, what happens if we put all of our surplus at it? What does that do to us from a financial standpoint?
Now you have to borrow money, right?
Right. We would need to now increase the budget by thousands of dollars because we'd have to go borrow at the high interest rates, 7 or 8%.
So is that essentially a TAN?
A TAN, a tax anticipation note. So until those bills came out, we started collecting cash because we still have
The
requirements.
interest on that money.
And that's going to cost us even more money. That'll cost us more money if we did something
Right.
like that. And it would put us in a spot where we have no money.
6, 7, 8%.
Just
Right.
throwing it out there to make sure all options are on the table. But we can't spend money to save money, so.
No. I mean, personally, I'm good with the 300. I think I can't see us being able to do any more than that.
We had 286 excess last year.
I was just
I mean,
confirming.
to be fiscally responsible, I don't think we can go over the.
And then next year with the ambulance, we'd be taking in more money next year, right?
292.
The big thing's going to be the warehouse.
That makes it an easy 3, then, yeah, wouldn't go over. I wouldn't vote over 3.
No, I don't think
I
you
don't think
can.
it puts us in a position.
For what you get for, then it's with pennies on the rate. It's
Do
just-
you have an idea on what the threshold is for a TAN? At what point we would need to pull a TAN?
I don't.
Well, my opinion is at a minimum, we should give back at least what was left over from last year, which is 292.
292, 706.
If it's 292, you might as well say.
Say 300.
Right?
Right.
It's eye-opening when you look at numbers there.
And that's the part too. We have a lot of elderly in the town that say, I don't have kids in the schools. Why am I having to pay this? And, if, you got to get out more and get out there and vote and.
Yeah.
So the $300,000, the savings on a $400,000 house would be 21 cents. right?
Correct. $84 off on the tax bill.
So we're knocking the town portion in half.
We went up 42.
42, but if
Yes.
you give 300 back, knocks it to
Right.
21, so that knocks that in half.
We'd be knocking
Yeah,
our town rate in
approximately,
half.
right. I mean, it's up 42 cents now. 300,000 would cut the increase on the town side of the bill in half, from
In half.
42 down to 21.
And that's the
Okay.
only thing that we can control.
Right.
Correct.
So that would knock the difference. So it's at the tax rate then at 32, 35, is that right? We're
22.35, give or take, depending on the rounding,
Right. It is ugly. There's no way around it. All right, so what do you need from us tonight, Greg? To say
a
the 300?
solid number, whatever you
Solid
got.
number, because it's gotta, because we gotta set it, right?
Yeah. I mean, the longer we go, it's not going to get any better, and
No,
our tax bills are going to be late.
Unfortunately, numbers are numbers, right? Numbers don't change.
The general consensus has been 300 across the board.
Right.
So
I'll make a motion to direct the town manager to use 300,000 in surplus to offset the 2023 town portion of the tax rate.
A second?
I'll second it. Oh, Jonathan.
John? Anything else? I know it's not a number we're happy with, but
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, so it's 400. Let's hope we don't see anything like that again. All right, so next up is to approve the consent agenda. We had the accounts payable manifest for the weeks of October 26th and November 2nd for 2023. The BOS draft minutes of October 16th, 2023. One veteran's tax credit application. Two deeds to burial lots, number 558 and 559. There's three salvage license renewals for Chires Brothers Auto Salvage, Brandy Brow Auto Parts, Inc., and 603 Auto Salvage.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda for October 30th.
I'll second it.
Second by Tammy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's 400. And Greg, we haven't heard enough from you tonight. Can we get the town manager's report?
all right, let's see, where are we at? I guess one of the big things to bring everybody up to date on is the maintenance supervisor had come in my office. You were there, Mr. Coy. Was it last week, I think? To inform us that the leach field over at the public safety complex has failed. So what has happened, digging back into it, it was installed approximately 36 years ago. At that time, it was built at 1.5 times the capacity for the square footage and the number of people that would be in that building at the time. Back when the public safety complex was expanded and the new addition was built, it is the recollection of those that were involved, at least one person, that in order to save money, that the leach field at the time just fit in under the guidelines for square footage and the like. So the idea of putting in a second bed was crossed out of the plan. Fast forward to last week and it has failed. So we are working with the engineer to get septic plans drawn up. He's been in contact with the state for approvals and the like. So once we get the test pits done and an idea of what is happening up there, we will be putting out that work to bid and hopefully get it done before the winter time. In the meantime, we're monitoring the level of the tank, and we'll be pumping it out on a regular basis to ensure that it's contained as much as possible. On the fire side, there was another fire this week, and the fire department did respond, and thanks to them and the many of the mutual aid communities, it is quite a thing when Chief Knutson puts out the number of towns that did respond to help out. Water bills will be going out in the mail this week, along with our quarterly notice. Highway department has been very busy. We've got the expansion project over at the cemetery with a schedule being drawn up as we speak. We did get the new truck, the six-wheeler I think I had mentioned before. So Dan and his crew are getting that ready for the winter with installing the cutting edges and putting in the radios, so on and so forth. The snowplow contractors are pretty much lined up. Catch basin cleaning is in the queue. And we're looking at scheduling one of those drainage projects from last winter before the winter. And they will be getting all the other trucks ready for winter as well. So budget, tax rate, alike. So,
All right.
question.
Where are we putting the second leach field at the safety complex?
In my understanding, when you look at the building out behind, up on the hill to the left, there is an area that I believe was carved out for it before it got cut out of the plans. Now, because of the age of the system, it is, the recommendation that we look in. It does have, the tanks, and it's a pump system because it sits, I believe, up on the hill. So we look at the condition of those and probably replace the whole thing at this point in time due to the age.
Question, how much do we have left in the ARPA funds? Roughly.
I don't want to guess. I'm in the process of doing an analysis, which means I've got to dig into the water project because we had some of the town hall hooking up of the buildings we took from ARPA, where that project is still ongoing. I've got to break out the contract cost to determine of the 100,000 that we approved. I think it's far less than that.
Okay.
But I want to make sure before I, give out any numbers. And we're in the process of doing that.
So do we need this replacement, do we need to dig up the driveway as well?
I am unsure.
Because if it's a pump system,
Yeah.
there's no hose going over the
Right.
driveway.
There's something underneath. I'm not sure to what extent. I don't know, where the pumps are. I'm not familiar with that.
I'm assuming you'll be back at a later date to talk about how much it's going to cost and
Yes.
how we're going to.
That's why I was.
And ways to pay for it.
That was why
We
I
do
was-
have some in the buildings trust. There is some contingency money. We have $20,000 or $30,000 left in this year's contingency. There's 20 to 30,000 in the building trust, to start.
That's why, and, we still got the ARPA funds, but we just start looking at in the next year what we plan on doing with those.
Okay.
Because we've got to have it earmarked by the end of next year, right?
By the end of the year, it has to be earmarked. So
So we got to figure out where the best bang for our buck is spending that money, right? Because it goes bye-bye if we don't use it. So we have to use it.
it will be used. much. It's not going, but I will have, for the next meeting, I will have that analysis so that we know where we're at.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you for staying on top of all that. It's a lot.
All right, Selectmen reports. Tammy?
Yes, I ended up attending a conservation meeting last week. There will be a public hearing on conservation to discuss prime wetlands that will take place on, I believe it's let me grab my calendar, sorry. I think it's the 9th. It's that Thursday it's gonna start at 7. Let me just look at my calendar quick. Sorry. Yes. So it will be on November 9th at 7 o'clock here. So that's open to the public. I also attended an Elder Affairs meeting on October 17th. We just discussed some upcoming events that we're planning for November and December. I attended the toddler trick-or-treat. There was a lot more businesses that got involved this year. It was, I feel like they had a really good turnout. It was pretty nice. Also that afternoon, I ended up having the senior movie over at the library. We had the seniors had a costume contest. The movie was Ghostbusters: The Afterlife. So we had about 15 people, a little more than we planned. What?
You're like an honorary senior.
I know, I am. I'm preparing myself. Saturday, I attended the pumpkin lighting. I can't say enough about how nice it was and what a beautiful day. I feel like everybody came out. We all had a good time. So I thank the Plastow Rec for putting that on. And I think that's all I have right now.
Jay?
Last week I went to a budget meeting. There was a few questions that the chair was going to follow up on with the police chief on, but for the most part they approved the first probably 15 to 18 budgets. We're not meeting tomorrow, so I believe the next meeting will be next Tuesday to look at finalizing or reviewing the next round of budgets. So I did attend the pumpkin lighting or the pumpkin festival on the town green. Like Tammy said, weather was beautiful. There were lots of people. It was well attended. It was really a fun time. It was good to see all the people out and kids out, and it was just a really great day. So Jen,
You must have been hiding or in disguise.
I was hiding. I was in my costume, but no, recreation. They did a really great job of putting that together. It was really a good event.
Yep, it was.
I did not attend the pumpkin lighting. Owning a farm, I took advantage of the weather and made hay while the sun was shining. I did attend the Old Home Day Committee meeting, and we worked on budgetary aspects, which we'll take care of at our next meeting, and some scheduling with that. My other meeting was energy, and you saw the results of the energy meeting, excluding anything that we've been working on with the solar initiative as well. So that's those are my two meetings between here and there.
All right. I did attend a planning board meeting, and there is, it's a public hearing, it's an open house they're having at the library this Wednesday to discuss housing, kind of what they went over in that survey that they had. That'll be at the library from 5 to 7, so you can come and go as you please between 5 and 7. You know, walk in there, if you have questions, anything to answer, you know, hopefully they can answer it up. RPC will be there as well. I also attended the pumpkin lighting. It's really amazing when I look at the pumpkin lighting. I remember like the first one they had way back, I think in like maybe 03 or something like that. Now there's there's vendor trucks out there, and there were a lot of tables there this year, which was nice to see. So it was like a little mini trick-or-treating as well. Some upcoming events. We've got a note here for us. The Energy Committee is inviting us to join them for a tour of the Littlefield Solar Project in Wells, Maine. What they want us to do is select a date to join them. The choices of the dates we have are Saturday, November 18th, Sunday, November 19th, Saturday and Sunday, the 25th and 26th, which is over Thanksgiving weekend, and also the weekend of Saturday and Sunday, December 2nd and December 3rd. I don't know if any of those dates work for anyone. I know myself, Thanksgiving weekend is probably the worst because I'll have a house full of kids and family and everything else.
Absolutely. We also have the Festival of Trees going on that weekend, so
Right.
we'll be
Right.
around for that.
So that's a tough weekend. So I don't know if any of those other dates.
Right now, I could do the 19th of November or the 3rd of December. Those other dates I'm not going to work.
All right, I can probably make one of those work. I'm hoping it'll
I
probably
can
be
do
early.
either of those.
Tammy? Neither date works?
No,
Any of the dates work?
no.
Okay. All right, we'll get back there and we'll let them know and we'll kind of go from there. Do you know if they're looking at more early in the day?
I think they were looking at like a 9 o'clock morning thing. So it's Wells, it's an hour from here. So you can go to 10 o'clock. There's good eateries up there once we're done the tour. We
I
grab a
prefer,
quick lunch and
I prefer early. I'm an early riser.
Okay.
I'm up like 5:30 in the morning. I'll go at 6.
I'm happy with that too. We'll just have to figure it out.
Do we have to post that as a meeting if there's a,
If there's 3 of us there.
Yes, if there's a majority, absolutely, it has to get posted as a meeting. So I need to know who's going.
So we can
I'll go if you want to step out.
no,
I'll
I
step
just
back.
wanted-
It doesn't make a difference to
no,
me.
we can all go and we can
Just have to
just,
post it as a
we
meeting.
just got to post it as a meeting, that's all.
Alright.
Because I'd love to see it, so.
So did you pick the date for sure?
What would you prefer, the 19th or the December 3rd?
I mean, you walk in a solar field. I'd rather do it before snow flies.
Right.
So 19th. We can just let them know. The John can let them know. Let's see, for events coming up this week, the regular town trick or treat is tomorrow between 5 and 7. So be careful out there driving with the kids. Luckily, it wasn't today with all the rain, so that was a good thing. We got a Veterans Day program. We're doing things different this year. I know things have been out there. When we met with the veterans, they came up with the idea of having a breakfast for them over at the Vic Geary. So we're going to do that, and it's open to the public on Saturday, November 11th. It's on 18 Greenhow Road between 8:30 and 10:30. So we'll have a pancake breakfast for the veterans, and it is open to the public. There's also wreath making, November 28th at Pollard School, 5:30. Make sure you register with Recreation Department. That would be with Jen. Then we have the senior wreath making, November 29th. That's at the Vic Geary Center. The tree lighting out here on the town green will be on December 3rd at 5 o'clock. There'll also be letters to Santa where you'll be able to drop off in the mailbox they'll have out there again at the gazebo. That'll be between December 3rd and the 21st. So, Jonathan, make sure you haven't been naughty this year and you get your letter to Santa out there.
Got it.
And
Promise anything.
And then Recreation is also going to do a show us your lights. So you just email recreation@plastow.com to get on the list. The list will be available at Town Hall, the library, and the annex by December 13th. That was everything I had for events. Does anyone have anything? that they want to
I
bring
did.
up?
I just wanted to quickly mention that there is a transportation survey going around, and you can find it on Plastow town page. I did have some get filled out at the movie the other day. Some of the seniors filled out the survey, so I will be giving that over to Jen. We're just trying to gather some information from a bunch of the locals, especially the seniors, on that transportation survey.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone have anything else? Do we have a non-public tonight? No. No? It's always a good answer, so with that, we will close the meeting at 8:01. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Enjoy Halloween.
Good night, happy Halloween.